In 20 years, will the US remain the most powerful state and still be as hegemonic as it is now? Edit. Thanks so much everyone for your responses. Unless something major like a civil war happens, yes, the US will likely be the most powerful state. Will it be as hegemonic as it is right now? Likely not. We are moving towards a multipolar world. It appears that the US economy will remain the world's largest. Due to the Chinese economy slowing down since the crisis started, India will not be surpassing the US economy in 20 years either, and even if it miraculously did so, India is many decades behind the US in pretty much every single aspect. It's a seriously underdeveloped nation with a gigantic population. The US military will remain the strongest in the world for the foreseeable future. But we'll live in a multipolar world, where the US hegemony is no longer undisputed. Many dictatorship will try to fight American influence like we see today: Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. Hard to tell. Any number of things can happen, but yes, it's most likely. I really hope it doesn't. The problem is that China is not better. Pax Americana will be hard to overturn. It'll gradually decrease provided new global players emerge if America becomes isolationist again. China looks to be the only one with some sort of global aspirations. India is still very regional. It boils down to geography and demographics. The US has, by far, the best geography of any nation on Earth. Among developed nations, the US has the strongest demographics. When considering developing nations, Mexico has the strongest demographics in the world. This will only help the US as we transition from China to Mexico as our largest trading partner. We are going through some crap at the moment, but when it gets resolved in a few years, America will be better than ever. That basically depends on how the situation with Taiwan goes. A continuation of the status quo or a non-Pyrrhic American victory in a shooting war. Yes, a Chinese victory, whether political or military. No, that would turn the world firmly bipolar. Until someone genuinely threatens United States naval power, I doubt there will be replacement for US hegemony. The United States has free rein to project power across 2/3 of the Earth's surface with essentially no resistance. Don't know about hegemony, but the US will certainly the most powerful country. However, China and India and a few other countries will be able to use their increased power to resist. Influence. Who knows, mate? Kinda yes, but it will be a multipolar world. It will still be a great military and economic power and still be the undisputed superpower, but they wouldn't have as much influence over every continent like it does now. They certainly wouldn't be able to bully other major powers like they do now. Yes, at least two of its potential rivals, Russia and China, appear to be caught in spirals which will at the very least stymie their relative growth. Whereas the West appears more unified and united economically and politically, Brexit notwithstanding. But watch this space. India is the one to watch for the next decade, at least in 20 years out is hard to predict. However, India appears less of a threat in a number of ways than China. For example, democracy, English language, non-aligned history versus anti-Western. Nigeria might also be interesting. US will still be strongest, but there will be countries who will be too powerful for US to control. Like they do today. China and India mainly will be major powers and will be able to stand up to US. China can already stand up to US and not give a shit about what US says though. Yes. As technology becomes widespread and more exponentially effective at augmenting the abilities of a single state to administer their governments, it becomes exponentially harder for a single state to become hegemonic. If you ask me, the US is indeed a hegemon. But it could never be hegemonic. Because the existence of nuclear weapons is a great equalizer, and yet it still could never completely control the behaviors of China, Russia, or North Korea for that matter. I feel India will likely overtake China and US to become the largest economy in the world. I back this by certain facts. 1. India has a high and sustainable economic growth rate. 2. It has a young and growing middle-class population. 3. Huge investments coming in industrial and manufacturing sector, both foreign and domestic. 4. Great international policies for trade and export. 5. Maintains diplomatic and healthy relationships globally. It is an ambitious goal to overtake the US and China, but I'm positive that due to these factors, India has a slightly better edge than other countries like Japan, Germany, UK, or France. I have hope things will improve. It's hard to tell. The world will be divided into different blocks, and no bloc will be able to win against each other. Without complete annihilation, people are overestimating US hegemony. What we are at most experiencing is a power shift, and people are already saying that the days of the US hegemony are numbered. But if we take a close look at history, it will be clear that empires like the US takes at least centuries to collapse completely. There will be a downfall in power for sure in the next 20 years, but how much? It is impossible to predict. America is 25% of the world's economy, same percentage as it was in 1990. It still achieves around 2% GDP growth and has one of the highest birth rates among developed countries, as well as high immigration from Christian, culturally compatible countries in Latin America. It has the biggest gold reserves. It's the largest oil, gas, and food producer. Its biggest rivals, Russia and China, are slowing down, so it will remain on top even in a multipolar world. Probably. Yes. Short of a civil war or some kind of uprising within the country, the US will remain the top dog. Even more than it is now, I'd argue. Yes. Yes. Despite the doomsayers, the USA will remain the most powerful state in the world for a long time. It depends mostly if it falls into fascism and makes enemies of its allies. I'd say yes, but more 40 years. Possibly the most powerful, especially in terms of military power. But politically and economically, we already see that changing in the past recent years. Said it won't call the shots fully, but it still will probably disprove some of the notions in the media of America's decline in parts of the world, e.g. the Middle East, which I largely disagree with. BTW. Nah, after they were the hyperpower and fell off. Others are trying to vie for the position in a zero-sum game. From external factors, yes. But US weakness is internal division. Some more BLM riots and some more abortion bans could get ugly. In US. Some symptoms of problems in US is healthcare, homelessness. The presidential race is between unpopular 70 guys. US will be terminally collapsed. Domestic population will finally be able to admit it. I think US will have been expelled from Asia by then. No. I expect China and Russia to be the most powerful nation states, with Russia capturing Ukraine and reabsorption Belarus and Kazakhstan. East Siberia will be largely surrendered to China's farmers, and China will blitzkrieg and annex Southeast Asia into Chinese national territory during America's coming great unrest over the politics of its government and racial civil war. Yes. No.